I broke my plant. Hi everyone, my name's Catriona and today I'm going to be doing a very big book haul. These are all of the books I acquired in the months of May and June. My book buying did get a little bit out of control. I think I was using book buying as a bit of a crutch these past couple of months, and there's like better ways to actually deal with everything going on. Not the healthiest thing for my wallet either, but there were some really exciting releases and really good sales as well, so I definitely took advantage of that. And I have a pretty sizable stack of books that I got for free, sent from publishers or that my friends were unhauling, so I didn't buy everything. Let's be honest, I'm just trying to reason with myself here because the pile of books I have is a little bit overwhelming. But I guess without further ado, let's jump into the book haul. Oh shit, okay, sorry, I just remembered another book that I need to mention. Give me a second. I just keep looking at different corners of my room and spotting another book that I also bought that I need to include in this video. Again, spotted another pile of books. Forgot about these two. Add that to the pile. I recently posted a couple of joint unboxing videos where I unboxed all of these beauties that I received in subscription boxes. So there's the YA Chronicles, Fairy Loot, Page Habit and Illumicrate boxes from the past couple of months. Some really awesome gems in here if you'd want to take a look at the unboxings and seeing some of the goodies that were included in those boxes as well. I will leave the links to those videos in the description. Let's begin with one of my favorite books of all time. I have the UK and the US re-release hardcovers for Vicious by V.E. Schwab. The sequel, Vengeful, is coming out later this year, and both the UK and US publishers came out with these new editions of the first book, and I couldn't decide between the two, so I did the really healthy thing of buying both. ¿Por qué no las dos? I also wanted to show you this book naked because it is beautiful. Look at Victor strutting his stuff on the cover there. Amazing! Like I mentioned, this is one of my favorite books of all time. I read Vicious a few years ago, absolutely loved it, and I've been like dying for the sequel to come out, and it's happening this year, so I'm really excited. But if you don't know what this is about, it is about two best friends, Victor and Eli. When they were in college, they discovered how to become extraordinaries, which is basically someone with supernatural abilities. Fast forward 10 years, Victor has been released from prison and he is hell-bent on seeking revenge against Eli. Oh, it is just so fantastic. Very character driven. Like, we are following an anti-hero and it is absolutely spectacular. So I cannot wait to reread this book in anticipation for Vengeful. And now I have these beautiful additions to add to my shelf. The copy that I had already of Vicious, I didn't love the cover, and at the moment I'm basically lending out that copy to everybody so that they can read it and jump on the bandwagon and enjoy the magnificence that is Vicious. My pre-order for the US edition of Lifelike by J. Kristoff also arrived. Isn't this beautiful? Lifelike was the May book of the month for my book club called The Name of the Book, so I have already read this one, and I did a live show with Piera from Piera Ford over on her channel where we talked about this book, so if you want to know some more of my thoughts on it, you can go and take a look there. But this is a book set in the future. It's like a post-collapse United States, and there's also been a lot of technological advances, so there are robots and cyborgs and androids, aka lifelikes, who are so human-like that you can't really tell that they aren't real. But these lifelikes have been outlawed, and our main character Eve, while she's hunting through the scrapland that she lives on, she finds one of these lifelikes, and from that moment her whole life is like turned upside down. I also couldn't resist getting myself a hardcover edition of Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi because we also have another beautiful naked cover. Like, just look at it, it's so pretty. I also absolutely loved Children of Blood and Bone. I did a full spoiler-free review of this as well, so if you wanted to take a look, link is in the description. But essentially, this is a West African-inspired fantasy novel where magic has been eradicated. We follow three main characters, one of which is Zay Lee, whose mother was a magi and she was killed. We also follow Amari, who is a rogue princess, and Inan, who is the crown prince. This was so good. I love the magic system and the culture. the descriptions. So beautiful. Just go and take a look at my review if you want to hear more, or you need a little persuading to pick this one up. I also picked up another couple of books which are for my book club. The first one is Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee. This was our June book of the month, and I just recently put up the live show discussion where we talked about this one on my channel. Again, link in the description. This is a young adult superhero novel, but it kind of reads like middle grade though. It's set in the United States in the future, and our main character desperately wants to become a hero, but she doesn't have any powers. This is also own voices, with our main character being biracial and bisexual. The romance was absolutely fantastic in this book. Loved it so much. It's a really light read. It has the cutest romance ever and really cool story. The book of the month for July for my book club is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. So I've already got myself a copy ready to dive in whenever I have the chance to, but I'm really excited to get to this one. Piera has already read this and really enjoyed it, which is why we are reading it this month. So I'm looking forward to diving into it. I did receive a proof of this one a few months ago in a subscription box, but I decided to get this because, like, how freaking beautiful is this cover? Plus, if anything's changed, I don't know. Thought I'd just get the finished copy. I can't really remember anything about this one, but I just had a really quick look at the synopsis, and the second word is assassins, and as you guys know, that is one of my buzzwords, so I'm very excited to jump into this one. Yes. I also picked up The Poppy War by R.F. Kong. This is one that I'm sure a lot of you guys have been hearing about a lot. This is another book that Piera has recently read and loved, so she's been pestering me to read this one, so it will happen soon. It will happen soon. But this is a military fantasy inspired by Chinese history, in particular the Second Sino-Japanese War. I've heard it's really intense and brutal. I tentatively have this on my to-be-read pile for the Tome Tobble Readathon, which is happening at the moment, so we shall see. Another readathon that is about to come up is the biannual Bibliothon, and with that, one of the reading challenges is to read the group book, and being one of the hosts, I'm going to attempt to read the group book, which for this round is The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw. There were 3 sisters who were killed for witchery, and every summer they return and steal the bodies of 3 young girls so that they can lure boys to their death. So that sounds really epic, and if you don't know, the biannual Bibliothon is running from the 14th until the 20th of July, so that's when I'm going to try and read this. I also picked up Ironcast by Destiny Sariah. This is set in Boston in 1919. The main character Ada and her best friend work in the cast iron nightclub, and basically they have afflicted blood, which means they can create illusions through art, which sounds really cool. During the day, the two also use their abilities to con the elite in order to keep the nightclub afloat, but there's a job that goes awry and Ada is imprisoned, and I think she gets put in, Havisham Asylum, so that sounds really cool. I've also picked up Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Basha. I've actually already started reading this book, but I've tentatively put this down because this may or may not be included as a potential option for a future book club, book of the month. We shall see. I've put it on hold for now. If it doesn't go ahead, then I'll just continue reading it. But I have been listening to the audiobook of this one, which so far is so good. This is a reimagining of Snow White, so we follow the 2 perspectives. One of them is Mina, who is the stepmother of Lynette. She is the queen, and then Lynette, who is the princess. And not only do we switch between each of their perspectives, but we see Lynette when she was like 16 years old, and then we also see Mina in the past when she was around the same age. But like I mentioned, I'm enjoying this one so far, so hoping to finish it sometime soon. I also picked up a copy of Want by Cindy Pon, and I think in this society, I think it's sci-fi, the elite are basically able to use their wealth to buy themselves longer lives. And I don't really know much else about the story, but I've got a few friends that have read this book and really loved it, so I decided to pick this up based on their recommendation. Only Human by Sylvain Nouvelle. This is the 3rd and final book in the Themis files. The first book is Sleeping Giants, the second is Waking Gods, and I have already read this one as well. I listened to the audiobook. Overall, I really enjoyed this series, and listening to the audiobooks was such an awesome experience because each character is voiced by a different narrator. Whilst the first 2 books I rated 4.5 stars, this one got a 4 stars. It's a little different from the other ones. I really enjoyed that fact, but it just wasn't as good as the first 2. But I would absolutely still recommend this series if you're like sci-fi, if you kind of liked listening to the audiobook for Illuminae, then I think you'll also really enjoy the audiobooks for this series. The first book in this series, Sleeping Giants, follows Rose Franklin, who, when she was young, stumbled upon this giant metallic hand, and people are just like, what the hell is this? Where did it come from? How long has this been here for? And after this hand is discovered, people are wondering if there's more pieces to potentially make a whole. Would recommend. I also picked up Warstorm by Victoria Aveyard. Earlier on, I picked up the first 3 books in the series. I have read Red Queen, and I decided to pick up Warstorm because Dimmicks had some signed copies. So I was like, why not take advantage of that and get it now, because I'm not sure if and when Victoria will be back in Australia. In this series, society is divided up between the elite, those who have silver blood and they also have like supernatural abilities, and those with red blood, and they are the poor and they don't have any abilities. We follow Mare, who is a red, but in the first book there are some circumstances that lead her to discover that despite her blood, she just might have some abilities of her own. Really enjoyed the first one and can't wait to continue on with the series. I also apparently picked up a copy of Cruel Crown by Victoria Aveyard, which I think includes a couple of short stories from the series. We're gonna just have to do a bit of a rotation with the display on the shelves because I don't have enough room. I also picked up a copy of Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I have seen the Studio Ghibli film a couple of times for this one and really enjoy it, so I was like, hey, it's about time that I pick up the book so I can at some point read it. But it follows young Sophie, who is cursed by a witch, and in order to lift this curse she decides to seek out the wizard Howl, who lives in a moving castle. These next lot of books that I have are ones that I got on sale. So firstly, I have Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the 3rd book in the Raven cycle. I have read and owned the first book, and I've listened to like half of the audiobook for book 2, but I didn't finish listening to the audiobook before my loan of the audiobook with my library expired, so at some point I will eventually get back to book 2 and read it. But I decided to pick up book 3 because it's hardcover, so it will match the series when I eventually buy book 2 and 4, and it was only $5. So I couldn't really pass that up. I also decided to pick up Emperor Mage by Tamara Pierce. This is part of the Immortal series. It is book 3. I have not read any of the other books in the series, nor do I own any of the other books in the series, but I took advantage of the sale and got this for a cheaper price because one of my like life goals is to acquire every Tamara Pierce book. Like every time I go into a used bookstore, I also keep an eye out for Tamara Pierce books and just buy whatever I find that don't have. It happened with this one. Can't actually remember if this was part of the sale, but this is a book that has been recommended to me by one of my friends. Every time I go into a bookstore with her, she points it out and is like, please get it. I found it in hardcover and it's absolutely beautiful in hardcover, so I decided to get it. And then I also got the 2nd book in the series as well. But that is Timekeeper and Chainbreaker by Tara Sim. If I remember correctly, I think this is steampunk, so it's set in an alternate Victorian world that is controlled by clock towers. So if there's a damaged clock, that can fracture time, and a destroyed clock can stop time altogether. It sounds really cool. I think there's also a male-male romance. Sounds great. Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. This is like a companion novel to Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. In this one, we follow Leah, who is one of Simon's best friends, and she's bisexual as well. And to be honest, that's all I really know about this book. I picked it up because I loved Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, so I was really excited to get to follow one of my favourite characters from that book. I also picked up Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is book 2 in the Farseer trilogy. I read Assassin's Apprentice for my book club and I found book 3 on sale for super cheap, so picked that one up. So now I have the complete trilogy. We'll see when I do get around to reading this one, probably not anytime in like the immediate future, but I'm really excited to explore more of the world and get to know the characters more, and then also continue on with some of the other series in this world. I'm really excited to, in particular, follow the Fools trilogies. That sounds really exciting. I also picked up The Dry by Jane Harper, and this is a bit of a murder mystery. So there is the Hadler family who are found shot dead on their property, and there is a federal police investigator who returns to his hometown to go to the funerals and kind of gets unwillingly drawn into the investigation. I don't really know too much else about this one. I've kind of picked this one up based on the positive things I've just been hearing about it. It's one of the best sellers and I keep hearing about people reading it and enjoying it, so I was like, hey, maybe I'll give it a try. Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. This is another one I've been hearing so many fantastic things about, and I decided to finally take the plunge and pick it up because Min Jin Lee came to the Sydney Writers' Festival and I attended one of her events and got her to sign this for me, which is very, very exciting. I also really enjoyed her talk at the Sydney Writers' Festival. I found it so interesting. I was like taking notes throughout as well. So yeah, that also got me really excited to dive into this. In Korea in the early 1900s, there is a club-footed, cleft-lipped man who marries a 15-year-old girl. They have one child together who, when she is older, falls pregnant to a member of the Yakuza who is married, and basically their family is facing ruin, so they flee to Japan. Cannot wait to jump into this one. And I also picked up The Alchemist by Paolo, which I'm sure that a lot of you have heard about. I've been hearing about it for a really long time, and this was part of the sale, so I was like, okay, I can take a hint. I will pick it up. I'm actually not super familiar with the story. All I really know is that I think we follow a young man named Santiago who travels from Spain to Egypt in search of buried treasure near the pyramids. But I do hear so many fantastic things about the book, so the hype appealed to me and I picked it up. So next I'm going to jump into the books that I received from friends, either as gifts or because they were getting rid of stuff, and I claimed some. The first one is Years of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I have started reading this one. I am buddy reading this with a friend, so we're working our way very slowly through it. We are definitely savouring it. But this is the sequel to Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, which I read last year, absolutely fell in love with. The writing style just takes my breath away. It is so beautiful, so descriptive, and so unique, and I love it so much. Over the moon to receive a copy of this. The first book, Strange the Dreamer, is a little bit hard to describe. We follow Laszlo Strange, who is just really enamored by this city called Weep. When he was younger, he can remember the distinct moment when he forgot the name of the city, like whatever it was, it just like magically disappeared, and it's now referred to as Weep. So it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Would highly recommend. Piera was getting rid of the first 4 books in the Memoir of Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan. I think I saw a Goodreads review of this one a little while ago and I was really intrigued, and ever since I will go into a bookstore and look for the first book and cannot find it anywhere. So I just have never gotten around to picking up the first book because, I mean, there's online ordering, but I just never quite got that far. So when I saw that Piera was unhauling these books, I was like, can I please have them? I'm not 100% sure what order this is in. I think it might be A Natural History of Dragons, The Tropic of Serpents, Voyage of the Basilisk, and In the Labyrinth of Drakes. So I think that might be the order. She was also getting rid of Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is part of the Witcher series that the game The Witcher was based on. I do already have the first book, The Last Wish. I think this might be the direct sequel, not 100% sure. I will look into it further. The Witcher is one of my favorite games, so when I heard that there was actually a book that it was based on, rather than like a book being written about the game, I was like, okay, I have to investigate this. So I've picked up the first book, got the second one for free. I also grabbed a copy of Wayfarer by Alexandra Bracken. This is the sequel to Passenger. I haven't read that yet, but I am interested in reading it. I do own a copy of it somewhere. If it's not here, it might be hidden on the bottom shelf somewhere, down at the very back. But I do plan on reading this series at some point, so when she's getting rid of book 2, I was like, hey, why not? One of my friends was also getting rid of City of Crows by Chris Womersley, I think it is, and she was also getting rid of Godblind, which looks like this. I haven't read that book yet, but it is currently being borrowed by one of my co-workers. We also have Bygone Badass Broads by Mackenzie Lee. It is about 52 forgotten women who changed the world. I remember seeing this book a lot around International Women's Day and I was super intrigued, and one of my friends, she wasn't actually giving it away, she was selling it, so I did buy this from her, but I was super excited to get my hands on a copy. And in it as well, it is quite a beautiful book too. We have these illustrations, really colorful. I really like the style, so I think this is definitely the type of book that I'll kind of dip into now and then. I won't read straight through. We also have The Diminished by Caitlin Sage Patterson. This is an advanced copy. I do remember being really intrigued by the synopsis, but I forgot what it's about, so just give me a second. Let me refresh. So in this world, almost everybody is born with a twin. They're like 2 halves that form a whole. There's a very select few who are actually single born, and they're actually given the right to rule by the gods and goddesses. The diminished are those that have experienced the death of their twin. I think the main character is a diminished. Her twin sister died when really young, and she was cast off by her family, so she was raised in a temple. These next few books are Bloomsbury books. So if you guys didn't know, I do work for Bloomsbury Publishing Australia. I do have a few advanced copies that we recently got in, which I'm excited to read. And I also bought a couple of books that have recently been published. The first one is Social Creature by Tara Isabella Burton. Also, how beautiful is this cover? This is a proof cover as well. The finished copy is really similar, but there's like more blood splatters on it. But this is a bit of a thriller. We follow Louise, who is struggling to survive in New York, and one day she meets Lavinia, who leads a really decadent life. The two of them become really close friends, they go everywhere together, and I think that Lavinia also starts sharing a lot of her wealth with Louise in form like sharing her clothes, her Uber account, even her Coke. And then the synopsis ends with, Louise knows that this can't last forever, but how far is she prepared to go to have this life? Or rather, to have Lavinia's life. Sounds super interesting, and I've been hearing really good things about it as well. Social Creature has just recently published as well, by the way, so it is available. A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is coming out next year. This is one I'm really excited about. This is a fantasy, and it's a bit of a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So we have a prince who has been cursed, and the end of each autumn he turns into this vicious beast and essentially destroys his own kingdom. And then we have Harper. She has cerebral palsy, and one day she's walking along the streets in Washington DC and she sees a woman being attacked by a guy, and she doesn't even think, she just jumps straight in and tries to save her. And in doing so, she is transported into this fantastical world where this cursed prince lives. And basically this guy was trying to kidnap a girl in order to take her to the kingdom in the hopes that she will fall in love with the prince and break the curse. Super excited to jump into this one. I'm also really excited to see that we have a main character with cerebral palsy. I don't think I've read any books with a main character with cerebral palsy, so I'm really excited to jump into this one. Sounds freaking epic. The next proof that I have is The Restless Girls by Jessie Burton. This is the author of The Miniaturist and The Muse. I do own both of those books, but I haven't read them. They're not published by Bloomsbury. But this is a feminist retelling of The 12 Dancing Princesses. This one's coming out later this year. Isn't this proof beautiful, by the way? It's like hardcover. It's amazing. But yeah, like I said, it is a fairy tale retelling, and all throughout there's going to be like these beautiful illustrations as well. I don't think the proof has all of the illustrations. I think there's just a few by the looks of it. But I'm really excited to read this one and see how Jessie Burton spins this fairy tale into something new. These next two Bloomsbury books are ones that I've bought. The first one is Circe by Madeline Miller. I recently read this one, really enjoyed it, and I do have like a proof copy of this one, but I decided to buy it because, like, can you blame me? This is just such a beautiful book. Not only the package, but the story as well. So this is a bit of a retelling, drawing upon one of the characters that is in the Odyssey, who is like the first witch or sorceress in Western literature. And in the Odyssey, she played a very minor role, but in here, it's her story. She is the main character. We see her life story. I really enjoyed it. Listened to the audiobook, which was fantastic. The narrator, Perdita Weeks, oh, her voice is so soothing. And we have The House on Half Moon Street by Alex Reeve. So I think this is like a murder mystery thriller, and like I don't often read these ones, but because I work for the publisher and I've been like doing campaigns about this book, I just keep hearing about it and it sounds really exciting. So I picked up a copy for myself. This is set in Victorian London, and we follow Leo Stanhope, who is transgender, and his partner Maria is found dead, and Leo becomes the prime suspect. Looks like my battery is about to die because I've been talking for so very long, so I'm gonna have to kind of start wrapping this up. But transgender main character, Victorian London thriller, yes please. The last lot of books are ones that I have been sent by the publisher. The first I was sent unsolicited by Penguin, and this is Eve of Man by Giovanna and Tom Fletcher. Okay, I'm a little bit confused by the synopsis as well. I don't quite understand what's going on. Maybe there's a shortage of women or something, because the main character Eve, she's been kept away from men her entire life, but when she's 16, there's 3 potential male suitors who are brought to her. And it says the future of humanity is in her hands. I have no idea. No idea, but thank you very much, Penguin, for sending this my way. Another unsolicited package that I was sent by HMH Teen is this interesting thing. I did do an unboxing on Instagram stories for this one, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, but I was sent this epic package for Grim Lovelies. So there's like a little note, there's a lip balm, there's some pins, and an advanced copy of Grim Lovelies by Megan Shepherd. So this is a fantasy, and I think the main character is a changeling. She's been enchanted from an animal into a human, and she's been working as a servant for Marta Vittora in Paris, I think, which is cool. But her master is murdered, and then Anouk, alongside all of the other beastly changelings, have 3 days until their spell fades and they turn back into animals. So I think they go on a mission to try and save themselves from this fate. Thank you so much HMH Teen for that lovely package. The last lot of books I'm going to show you are these super beautiful Virago Classics. I will go one by one through all of them because the covers are absolutely beautiful. I'm assuming that these were sent to me by Hachette Australia. So thank you so much for sending these my way. This was unsolicited as well, but I did receive a tote bag too, which is somewhere. But the books that I was sent were Fire from Heaven by Mary Renault, The Magic Toy Shop by Angela Carter, The Duo Avocado by Elaine Dundee, The Weather in the Streets by Rosamund, oh, I'm going to completely butcher this last name, Leman, A View of the Harbour by Elizabeth Taylor, Heartburn by Nora Ephron, The Collected Stories of Grace Paley, Memento Mori by Muriel Spark, Deep Water by Patricia Highsmith, Frost in May by Antonia White, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, The Return of the Soldier by Rebecca West, and I'm done! I think that's all of the books that I had to include in this book haul. If there's any more, I will just include it next month because I think this is enough books to talk about in one video. I have a feeling. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far into the video, I am incredibly impressed and would love to know how many of you there are. So leave a comment down below saying soldiers. I'm just going on, the last book title had soldiers in it, so that's where I got that word from. That's all that I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon in a new video, but until then, I will talk to you in the comments. Bye!